All right, good afternoon, and we are going to continue our project from last week. Last week you made a bottom plate and laid out your studs, I believe 16-inch on center. Right now the measurements aren't too critical, just because this is kind of just a navigation, how to figure out where all the controls are and how to do it, okay? So now we have to put each individual stud in. In this particular one, we have 7 on our bottom plate. We could come in here and do it one by one by one by one by one, and that would probably take 10 or 15 minutes to do that. So the easiest way to do that is what we did before, and this is where it's important. We made this bottom plate 2x4 a component, or a group, I'm sorry, and the 2x4 is a component where we labeled it studs. I think in our case, we labeled it studs 1. Okay, so there are 2 different parts. Okay, so keep that in mind. So now we're going to come up here to the cursor or select tool, and I'm just going to come up and select either in any one of these studs here. I'm going to pick the second one here, and I'm going to triple click on it. Okay, or actually double click it. I don't think it really matters. Yep, double click on it. Okay, so you double click that stud, and I'm going to come to the push and pull feature, and I'm going to hover over till this highlights one of the studs, and I'm going to left click it, and I'm going to pull my mouse up. Okay, as you can see, it's pulling my studs up. Okay, so now a little bit of math here to figure this out. Like I said, this is just to get familiar with the feature of the tool. Pinpoint accuracy is really not key right now, just so you get familiar with using these controls. But in an 8-foot wall, we have our bottom plate. Normally you have 2 top plates, but this particular one's just going to have a bottom and 1 single top plate. So them stacked together is going to equal 3 inches, because you have a inch and a half on the bottom and an inch and a half top plate on the top, which equals 3. We have to subtract that 3 inches from 8 feet, which 96 inches minus 3 is 93. Okay, so in theory, we have to cut our studs to 93 inches. So I'm going to type in 93 and hit return and left click the mouse. And that basically cut our studs all together. It took literally 30 seconds to do that. Okay. All right, so I'm going to come up here to the cursor again. Now we have to put the top plate on. We have it empty up on the top there. So I'm going to take my orbit tool and I'm going to turn it so I can see this face. Actually, probably the easiest will be to do the bottom face, because that's usually how I look at it, because I want to connect this bottom piece here to my top piece. Okay, so I am going to come over here to the move tool, just like we did the 2x4s. You got your 2 little red crosshairs there. Okay, I'm going to click that face, and I'm going to do Control M to copy it, and I'm going to pull it up. Okay. All right, so this one here, in theory, if I go, it's 93 inch. I know my stud's 93, and this plate is an inch and a half, so I should be able to go up 94.5. Oh, I got to make sure I get it straight here. Let me zoom out here. It's a little bit tricky here. Right there, 94.5, and enter. All right, so in theory, that should have pulled it up on top of my top plate. Okay. All right, as you can see, it looks like it did, and I will do some just to double check my measurements here. Okay, I want to check my studs. 7.9, which that should be correct if I do the math right. Okay, and then I'm going to do my outside studs here. I'm going to get rid of this dimension line and go from this point down to this end point, which is 8 feet. Okay, so that is how you push and pull your studs all in one section. It's key when you get started with this is to make a group and make each component, because when you pull it, it pulls it in each component. Okay, each component is tied together. Okay, this doesn't matter if you make this wall 20 feet long or 8 feet long, it's going to be the same. Okay, so that is the tutorial on how to push the studs up and copy the bottom plate to the top plate. And if I wanted to make a double plate, I would have to cut another 1.5 inches off of this and put another double plate on here, because my length has to be 8 foot to fit a sheet of plywood. So that is how you do making multiple studs and a top plate.